Everyone told me to play Blasphemous. This one has certainly been a roller coaster of emotions. People have been recommending this to me for a while now. Some of my fellow Doom personalities love it, and I saw a few minutes of gameplay and thought, yeah, that looks cool. Side-scrolling 16-bit action platformer with a cool kinda gothic art style and gory violence. Sure, I'm down for that. Blasphemous is a 2019 game made by indie Spanish developer The Game Kitchen. It tells the story of the Penitent One as he travels through the realm of Civistodia, which is full of pious people and old Spanish Catholic architecture. Everywhere you go, you meet characters that speak in old-school religion talk, and you can aid them in their search for valuable materials which they'll take in exchange for power-ups and important items and all that kind of stuff you'd expect. There's lots of different enemies and bosses and yada yada yada, you know. But look, this isn't a review. I've made it clear that my Everyone Told Me to Play series is not a review series. It's about people recommending games and me saying if I like it or not. I'm not going to break down every aspect of combat and story and enemy design. So, do I like Blasphemous? Kinda. I gotta say, it is not what I was expecting. I very much like 2D action platformers, but I very much do not like Souls-like games, parry systems, and especially metroidvania map design. The opening sections of the game are Parry City, which I can do. I'm not great at parrying, but I can do it. I just don't enjoy it. So I wasn't into the combat for a while, and I hadn't noticed the metroidvania-style map in the beginning, so that wasn't on my mind yet. I was just trying to figure out the game. I pushed forward through the first sections and thought, okay, this is fine. The game looks nice, but it's also a bit drab sometimes, and the soft music makes me feel kinda sleepy. As I explored, I found lots of little trinkets, most of them appearing to be useless. You can start using some of them later on, but for a long time I had like 20 items that didn't do anything. And I think this really takes the fun out of exploring for hidden items. I eventually started dismissing items as, it's probably just another useless collectible, why bother? Many items eventually go on to be usable to complete quests and get upgrades. It's just that on the first playthrough, for the first hours, it feels like you're not doing anything with all these items you're finding. So I just pushed on, killing enemies and moving forward. I was treating it as a linear game, because that's what I wanted it to be. I like linear action games. Linearity isn't a bad thing if it has the gameplay to complement it. I don't believe that Contra or Battletoads would benefit from being an open world or Metroidvania game. But treating Blasphemous as a linear game is a huge mistake. The further I got, the more I realized I would need to go back and explore areas I'd already been to because there were lots of places I just didn't look at. I had to run back and kill the same enemies I already killed, which for me is one of the big problems with some Metroidvania games. The combat isn't so amazing that I want to kill the same guys over and over. I think it starts to get tedious really fast, even with my character becoming more powerful. I started to get really discouraged because on top of running around the map looking for what I'd missed, or what I'd somehow unlocked, the game has a Dark Souls-style checkpoint system. Some checkpoints are found through exploration, so it's possible to not see one and then end up making it really far, die, and then you're all the way back on another map. That is frustrating, but even the checkpoints that are in your area still take you back pretty far. I found myself dying, going back, repeating the same 10 rooms over and over because I was frustrated and impatient and playing worse every time. I did this until I got so angry that I turned the game off. I don't think this checkpoint system is bad. I think it works well to encourage cautious, smart gameplay. And once you unlock more healing potions, it's easier to survive to the next checkpoint. I just got frustrated with it, which is part of the design of the game. I can't really knock it for that. I'm just talking about my initial experience. But I kept coming back to it the next day and giving it another shot. See, I'll give most games 4 to 5 hours if I'm having doubts. If there's enough fun to make me want to see more, I'll come back to it. Despite my frustrations, I kept loading up Blasphemous for a couple hours each day to push forward a little more. Once I got to a map called John Doe, which is like this underground dungeon, I suddenly found myself enjoying the game a lot more, for 2 reasons. 1. The parry system was now pretty much entirely ignorable. Between the upgrade that extends my parry window to be very forgiving, and basically the absence of any enemies that need to be parried first, I was in constant active combat. That's not to say it was easy, the enemies were different and still dangerous, but I didn't feel like I needed to parry at all, so I was quite happy. Because, hey, Souls fans, I have news for you. Parry system does not equal smart combat, and no parry system doesn't equal brainless combat. They are different gameplay styles that both have the potential to be great if crafted appropriately. If the majority of enemies in Blasphemous required parrying, I would have stopped playing long before I did. But the combat proves to have a lot more going on. Beyond your basic parry and sword slash, you get a dashing attack, a ground slam, executions can create projectile sword slashes, you get a magic projectile, and there's a mechanic that allows you to bounce in the air a few times after an air attack, leading to multi-hits on flying enemies, and even some puzzles incorporating slash jumps on environmental objects. It's just like The Messenger, which is one of my favorite games of recent years. And 2, the map design in Jondo feels more self-contained. While I was there, I wasn't thinking about the rest of the world map, or what items I needed to bring to which character. Jondo feels like a puzzle you have to solve then and there, and that's what I loved about it. For the next half hour, I was checking the map, looking for switches to open doors, breaking chains to free lifts to get to other areas, opening shortcuts to work my way back to the checkpoint and save, and using these bells and timed puzzles to open doors. This is the game I wanted Blasphemous to be. I wanted a linear set of maps that have to be figured out on their own while dealing with uniquely designed combat challenges. But it's not that. I got out of Jondo and had some more fun for a few hours before realizing I had no idea where I was going anymore. Nothing on the map stood out to me at all. I ran all the way through the whole map again, killing all the same enemies, and I couldn't find any path I'd missed or a new door that had opened. And I said, I'm done. I don't want to do this anymore. There's only 3 fast travel points I've found, and they're all so far out of my way that there's no point. If I could just travel to the checkpoints, that would make the game way more tolerable, and I understand that you can upgrade them later to be fast travel points, I think, but at this point, halfway through the game, I'm tired of it. I'm tired of looking at the map and thinking, maybe I missed something over there, and then running there for 5 minutes to realize it was nothing, and now I gotta run somewhere else. But Mayo, didn't you criticize Resident Evil Village for being too linear? I thought you liked exploration-based map design. I do, in survival horror games. I think exploration-based maps and puzzles work wonderfully with the slow pace of survival horror where you're starving for resources and can only hold a few items. In action games, I have no patience for it. I want to move forward and get into more combat and learn new abilities. I just put out a big review of Sifu, which I love, but if the combat in that game had been broken up with a bunch of exploration and backtracking, I would have dropped it immediately. When I'm lost and have no idea what the fuck I'm supposed to do and I'm just running around the map doing the same thing over and over in an action game, I get bored. Survival horror games also have isolated puzzle-based maps. Resident Evil and Silent Hill are still quite linear experiences. The non-linearity / exploration comes from the individual maps you enter, especially with Resident Evil 1. The game goes from mansion to guardhouse to mansion to underground to laboratory. Pretty straightforward, but each section contains exploration. The mansion is a puzzle to be solved before moving on. And there is light connectivity between maps, like the 2 medals you find in the mansion and the underground that are required to open the laboratory entrance at the end, but not much beyond that. You don't spend Resident Evil running through every map in the game multiple times. If that's how those games were, I wouldn't be the fan that I am. The more I play Blasphemous, the more I think I'd rather be playing Dead Cells, or The Messenger, before The Messenger turns into a metroidvania and I turn it off. I'd rather be playing Hades, something where the emphasis is on the action and not wandering around collecting dozens of quest items and then trying to figure out where to take them because it's not marked on the map and there's no legend on the map to tell you what things are, so you go 10 minutes back to the place you think you're supposed to use the item, but that's not actually the place, so you gotta go all over the world map again looking for the room, and no thanks, I'm done. But the weird thing is, I feel like this game is really good. If you're into this kind of thing, you're gonna love it. So I do recommend Blasphemous. This video isn't about me telling you the game is bad, it's definitely not. It's just a bunch of stuff that I don't personally like, but I can feel the quality as I play it. I just wish the game was something other than what it is. One thing I really do like is how enemies all have different behaviors that require different tactics. Basic parry shield guys, enemies that burrow under the ground and shoot up into the air, spooky spirits that disappear and snipe you with lasers, ramming dudes that can only be hit from behind, and these bitches. They will throw a spinning cross at you at any angle. It hovers in place for a second and then comes back. Very awkward to deal with, and groups of them will mess you up big time. I love them. When I'm dealing with new interesting AI types, I enjoy this game a lot. I also really appreciate all the work put into actually designing interesting levels. I'm honestly so tired of roguelikes and procedurally generated worlds. It's refreshing to see an actual vision of a world in a game like this, where the gameplay is crafted to flow smoothly and spaces are memorable because they're static. I'm glad I checked this one out. I had fun in a few areas, there were some really cool combat moments, and some exciting platforming challenges. If I liked metroidvania games, I'd be here slobbering all over this one. But, for the future, Souls-like parry-based metroidvanias are probably not the games to send my way, as appreciated as recommendations are. Thank you for watching this episode of Everyone Told Me to Play. It's been nice to see this series do well over the past couple years. I really enjoy doing it. I've found games that I ended up liking a lot, like DMC5, Hades, Ghost Runner, and others that just don't really do it for me, but at least I get to experience something new, so thanks. Check out the Everyone Told Me to Play playlist, and I'll see you in the next one.